He quit his stable, full-time, great-paying career to become a full-time Etsy seller. Today, we're talking with Brandon Wong about how he made the jump to become a full-time seller that owns 4 shops and generating multiple 6 figures per year on Etsy. You guys need to hear this inspirational story. He talked about Etsy ads, we talk about ranking, we talk about different product niches, profit margins, and much more. So let's go ahead and jump in. We're going to hear Brandon's story. Cool. So, Brandon, man, great to have you on. I appreciate you spending the time with us.
No, I'm glad to be here. Appreciate you inviting me on.
Super happy that you joined me today, just to kind of like talk about Etsy, your business, your story, and some strategies that you've used and you kind of teach in your videos to help people. So awesome, man. Welcome.
Thank you so much. No, I'm excited. Very excited to talk to you, Cody.
That's awesome. Tell me your story if you don't mind. Like, who's Brandon Wong, and
Sure.
Share.
Yeah, I mean, so if I bring it all the way back, maybe like 10 years ago, I guess kind of when I graduated from high school, I was always into, doing crafty things. I was into painting, always drawing, anything artsy I was into. But at that time, I didn't really understand the possibilities of what you can do with that career, right? And, I got raised by a single parent, so I had to kind of, help pay bills. So I ended up getting into construction for like 6-7 years as an electrician, right? So during that time, I was still into art, into drawing, painting, doing crafts, but I didn't really think there was a career path to that. So during that time as an electrician, I realized, you know what, I really want to take this leap. I really want to try this out. And someone told me about Etsy. Like, oh, why don't you try creating some stuff on Etsy, right? And I was into painting, so I was doing painting art. I was doing 3D wood art, right? I was like,
crazy.
This is when it was only physical items at that time. There was no digital, no print on demand,
cool.
Right? So I was creating all these things. I was like, an artisan, where I was creating, you can still see that moved to like woodworking as from the background.
You built that?
So yeah,
that's awesome.
I did. But yeah, so I was building all these things like, cool, I want to create these cool skylines with 3D wood art. But my mindset at that time, I was someone that likes to create. I didn't know about business. I didn't know about the e-com world. I was just creating things, not knowing if there was an audience for it, not knowing if there's demand, right? So I long story short, that business did not really work because I really didn't know anything. I only knew the art side of things, how to create something.
Yep.
So, since then I kind of had to like change my mindset and learn, okay, why didn't that work? I know this is happening. I know Etsy's a platform that's a lot of people, being successful at it, right? So I had to kind of just go on YouTube at that time and see people talking about SEO, talking about pricing, shipping, all these things. So I kind of learned my way through that. And eventually after a couple of stores, moving forward a couple of years later, I was able to have some more success and opening up different shops in the physical realm and the print on demand and now more digital products. I think over that whole span of time, I think I've had around like eight shops, still running around 4 or 5 right now. But I learned a lot, and I realized a lot of people who are in this Etsy space are creators, right? They love creating products, but they might not be as knowledgeable about business or just that other side of things, right? Like, I think a lot of people are into the business of art instead of the art of business. And that mindset needs to be changing. That's why I kind of have my YouTube channel telling people who are in the art space, into the creative space, like, hey guys, you got to understand the other side of things, not just the creation. Yeah. So just a little bit about the journey.
I love that, man. I appreciate you sharing that. I think it resonates so much with me. And one of the biggest takeaways I just had from you, like your story, was it took you a long time. It took you, like you said, like how many, 8 shops, right? Like, I mean, I know that equals like multiple years. Like how long was that journey, you think, from like start to like where you are now? Like how long have you been on Etsy?
Like I said, probably around, my first one was 10 years ago, but for me being full-time now, it's been around 5-6 years full-time now since I was able to actually make it work. But like I said, I wasn't like doing it full-time for 10 years. Like I understand, when you're younger, when you try something, you feel like, oh, maybe that didn't work. So you kind of, a couple years pass and you kind of revisit it.
You play with it.
So that's why, I kind of wish I had someone that was like there from the beginning to really tell me exactly how to get there. But yeah, patience, I think, is a thing. And a lot of people think overnight success is what you got to do because of social media. Everyone tells you, oh, you can do something super quick. But, reality, it does take trial and error. Like you understand, I'm sure you understand that whole
100%, man. Like nothing's quick, as a YouTube video tells us, right? Like, or the Instagram post like tells us, right? It's not like do XYZ and you're gonna get X result, you know, in a matter of like 60 days or like 90 days or 1 year even, right? It's like, it's a compounding, they're compounding efforts, right? That you have to like make over and over again until it starts to click. And then it starts to become a little bit more clear and a little bit more clear. It's like a long-term, like.
Exactly. But it does, every shop that I do now, it gets quicker, right? The results come quicker. So something that might take me a year before might take me a month and a half now. Crazy. Right? To get it all right. So yeah, it does get quicker. So don't get discouraged for people who watching that takes years.
No, yeah, you're right. Like that's a good point though, right? Like it takes a long time, but it doesn't have to take a long time forever, right? It's like just your first one is going to take a little longer. So like, yeah, it's go into Etsy with some patience. This is kind of what I like to teach, like go in with some patience, but also like take action like you want it to be like here in like 30 days type of thing, right? Like
for sure.
Like work really hard. It just, time isn't the only thing that's going to get you to those sales. Like it needs to take a bunch of work and then learning, trying things, failing at things. So that's awesome, man. I could totally relate to that story. So you were an electrician before, like, so that's 10 years ago. Like what kind of electrician? Like commercial, residential? Just curious.
I was in industrial and commercial. I was a certified actual electrician, did my schooling and everything.
Crazy.
So yeah, so I was able to, like, once I finally got my certification, I was like, you know what? I already got my ticket. Like if I want to try something different, this is the time to do it now, to take that leap. And, you know, I actually went back to school as a graphic designer. And from there, I got into my first successful Etsy shop, which was in digital products, digital wall art kind of thing. So, you know, that was based on what I learned from as a graphic designer. But obviously, like I mentioned before, I had prior experience with visuals and stuff like that.
That's so cool, man. I think that I want to dive in there a little bit because the majority of anybody that like upgrades to like EverBee's paid plan, I always invite them to a Zoom call. So I get to like hear different like stories from our customers. And the majority of time this pops up is like, I want to quit my full-time job. That's why I'm doing this Etsy thing. Cause I want to like quit one day, you know, and then do this full time. If I can just do this full time, I'd be happy. And I think that's just so important for like, I wanted to kind of like hear that a little bit more is like, why did you want to get out of electrician? Like electrician's a good paying job, right? It's a good stable career, like tons of opportunity there for growth, for money, for flexibility if you want to own your own, like, you know, like electric company. So why did you want to make that move? Like
exactly what you said, it is a great paying job. I was doing really well for my age. Like I was doing pretty well compared to my friends at that time. But I just it was like a void in me that I just couldn't explain. Like every time I go home from work, I would just be creating things. Like this is actually what I love to do, right? And I was like, you know, I'm like 26 at that time, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try something new. If it fails, I have a backup plan, which is okay. So I quit that high-paying job, and my goal was to actually go back to graphic design and just be a graphic designer, to be honest, right? And I knew that graphic designers don't at that time. I mean, it's debatable, but not paid as well as electrical. But I was okay with that, to do something I actually love. And then during that school time, that's when, like during the schooling, me and my students discovered that this Etsy thing, this digital product thing. And I was like, what is this? Like, let people selling like designs, visual layouts for, you know, passive income kind of thing, right? Mm-hmm. And I was telling my students, and they're like, yeah, this is kind of cool. I'm like, wait, you guys, why don't we do this? Like, we should be doing this. It's like, yeah, maybe. And I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna try it. So during I was still in graphic design school at the time, but then all my work that I was supposed to do for that, I just shifted to doing Etsy stuff. And I was doing more and more of it, and I was getting worse grades in my school because I was focusing on this Etsy thing. Because I was like, guys, like people are making sales right now on here, and I'm gonna try because if people can do it, I can do it as well, as long as I follow the right steps. Which is another conversation you have later on. Yep. Yeah, and I started doing it after graduation. Obviously, the shop did not fully pick up yet, so I ended up working at a print shop. But then eventually, when I launched the shop, after like after a month or two, I started getting one sale a day. Right, started getting 2 sales a day. I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. Crazy, you know, making a bit of money. And then after 4 months, I was getting enough sales to be like, wait, I'm actually making more from my Etsy store than I am in my full-time job right now. And I was like, okay, and this is actually all digital too. So I quit my job and let my graphic design print job, and I just focused on my Etsy. And then I ended up traveling South America and traveling Southeast Asia for 2 years, because I was like, guys, like this is all digital. I'm making more money doing this, and I can just, be a digital nomad and just travel the world and pay less out there than I would in Vancouver here for rent. So that's what I did after my first job was worked out.
That's amazing, man. That is like literally like the modern day entrepreneurship story right there, right? It's like, that's why I wanted to like have you on today, right? Is because literally because of that, because majority of, not everybody, but the majority of like time that we get into like e-commerce, we hear this like e-commerce thing is the freedom lifestyle, right? Like that, the ability to be like, hey, I can have time freedom. I can be able to like travel the world whenever I want, drop of a dime. I can move, I can go there. And I could still have this like income stream, coming too. And the fact that you like, one, kind of like had a dream to do that after you kind of saw the opportunity, and then stepped into it, like leaned into it harder and like executed on it, is just, it's powerful. I think that is pretty rare, and you probably don't feel like it's rare, but it really is rare. But the cool thing about it is, and I know you speak to this a lot, is like anybody can do this. Like you were trying to convince your friends, people that you were in school with at the time, probably, right? Is like, you were probably being like, guys, there's a huge opportunity here. Let's go do this together. And they probably just weren't really as committed to you, as committed as you. Is that kind of how you feel?
Yeah, I think they just didn't really believe that it worked. And that's exactly what you said. I think I was like telling guys, like, we're seeing these people, we can refresh your page. They're getting more sales right now. Yep. And the thing about Etsy, which I love, is everything's very transparent, in terms of, their mockups, their titles, their tags, their shop bios, like literally everything. You can see how they're doing this stuff. Mm-hmm. Right. And so that's something I tell a lot of people, which could be a good segue, is like, competitors, right? Searching competitors, using EverBee, things like that. And that way you can really see, wow, I can see the full picture of someone's shop. Like I know exactly how they started. I know everything about this. And if they can do it, right, I can literally just, do something similar. I can improve on it, right? Create it in my own way, and kind of take a share of this market, in the sense of obviously the niche that you're into, the passion you're into.
Yeah, I can relate to that a lot. And I think that I do like that Etsy's transparent. Unfortunately, they're not like transparent with everything, which is, I understand it though, right? Like they can't share every single detail. Like with EverBee, right, for example, like we wish that they would share like more like analytics with us, so we can like build more analytics for EverBee kind of thing. But we have to make estimations based on they do give us, right? So, but I'm curious, like how you decide on your categories. Like if you said you have 4 shops, right? Like tell me about, what kind of shops to build.
Yeah, so I think there's a couple of things. Number one is identifying your skill sets. I think a lot of people have different, they might be amazing at creating things digital. What softwares do you use? Right? There's so many different aspects. And so first, identifying what works for you, and obviously second is what you're passionate about. Okay. Right? I think passion can drive someone, right? You can't just do a niche that's making a lot of money and not be passionate, because that's not going to keep you going through the tough times. And I'm sure you totally understand, right? There's things that kind of have to keep you pushing. So, and the third is obviously, what EverBee comes in is identifying what works, right? So all those three has to combine to figure out, okay, this is the best option. And I think there's a lot of good videos out there that can be like, that people tell you, 10 best categories to get into, right? And those videos are great. You can see all the best options, and from there, break them all down. Like, cool, this one works for me because, I know how to build this. Or this one works for me because I know how to use Procreate. Oh, maybe this one works for me because I know how to use Excel. And then from there, you can really figure out, all right, this is the best one for me, regardless if another one might make you a little bit more money, whatever, but you should go for the one that best suits you.
Yeah, the combination is the important part.
The combination, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I agree. Like there's sometimes when I'm using EverBee, I'm like making a video or like a tutorial for EverBee, and like I'm literally doing like a raw research from like, I've never researched this niche, and I like come across it and I'm like, oh my God, these are like a really good niche to go into. I'm like, almost like, dang, maybe I should do this. And sometimes that enters my head. I know I'm not going to, because I'm building software, but there's some times where it comes through, and then I'm like, then I check myself and I say, do I really have one, the skill set, or like the even interest and passion to actually like build a shop around this? And usually when I ask those questions, it's usually like, no, this really isn't for me. It has a lot of money coming through there, but it might not be actually for me. For example, like if I see like templates, for example, like let's say it's like, I don't know, I don't know, there's different kind of templates, right? Like I have no idea how to make a template, right? And I haven't researched it. I haven't like, I know it's out there. I know the interest, all the information's out there, but I don't have the interest or like the follow through to actually go and learn how to do that and then create it. Even though I see like certain niches and templates do well. Anyway, it's just one example, but another example would be like dog collars, right? Like I don't even own dog. So it wouldn't be like the best thing to do is like go and make dog collars, for example.
For sure. But yeah, to your point, I think, yes, I totally agree. And even when I said, oh yeah, I find exactly what you know you're good at, but sometimes I always discover things where I would think I don't like it or I'm not passionate about until I start dabbling into it. Like, whoa, this is kind of cool. So I guess I'm kind of tracking what I was saying earlier, that sometimes it is okay to just try something new, test it out.
Like
maybe you will like it. I mean, there's no right or wrong, right? To get any kind of approach works for different individuals.
Totally. No, I agree. I can see that. What are some like for a brand new Etsy seller, let's say they are less than 10 sales on Etsy, maybe like no reviews, right? Yet, what would you kind of say for them to like launching a brand new shop? And like what are like one or two takeaways, tips that you can kind of give to them?
One thing I've been thinking a lot about this lately, and like you said, a lot of people, hey, you know, I just opened up my shop, I'm getting no sales, or I'm getting one sale for like ever, nothing's happening. And they'll be, oh, my SEO works, right? My tags are good, but why am I not getting sales? And I always say like, to really be realistic, look at your shop, look at your thumbnail compared to the best seller in your category. Put them side by side in like a search page, just put them side by side. Look at the pictures, look at the pricing, and be realistic with yourself, right? Does this compete with this in terms of visuals, right? Because if you're not, because we both know, right? Like thumbnails, everything, you know, YouTube, Etsy, everything.
Yep.
More so than pricing and title, right? But if yours is not as good as that one, like why would they click on yours, right? Why would they even try give you a shot? Sure. So that's one thing I want people to really understand. It's like be realistic, and can you make something that's looks just as nice, or you know, on the same playing field as the best people in your category on the search page. And that's the number one thing, is to get that click. From there, cool. Then we can talk about other things. We can talk about your description, how you convert, how to have the right messaging, right? But the first thing is, do you have something that's clickable?
I like that. That's an interesting point, because a lot of times people always ask, literally every day, it's like, hey, can you do a shop review? Can you do a shop review? And the shop reviews are great, like, but at the end of the day, like someone doesn't just come to your shop just by themselves. Like they have to actually see your listing, their main image first, before they even get to your shop, before they even get to like, you know, anything else. Like usually they find you in search. So if they're not even clicking on you in search, then you don't have a shot. Like they don't have a shot to get to your shop. So the majority of the time it's actually, like you said, like, you know, the thumbnail or the main image.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you know, even your videos, my videos, we talk a lot about marketing SEO, which is very important, right? But the more I think about it, I'm like, hey, I gotta try making more videos on just the visual side of things. And I think that's something that I really want to try pushing out more, so people can improve the aesthetics, that side of things, and everything should kind of click. And that's kind of what worked for me, from my experience.
I like that. No, I totally agree. I review like tons of shops myself, and I notice like there's always a lack in product photography. There's always a lack of like consistency in their themes, things like that. Like just in like aesthetics, like you said, like a good eye for design. Like there's always a lack of that. And I think there's not a lot of education around it, to be totally honest. Even for me, like, especially for people that don't have like a natural, good, intuitive eye for design, like myself, we suffer on the conversion side of things. Like we just won't convert as much simply because our pictures just aren't that good, you know?
Even though you have amazing product.
Exactly. Our SEO can be perfect. Like our SEO can be perfect. Our ads are perfect. Everything works good, but our pictures suck. You know? Yeah. So what are your, I know I want to like I'm jumping around a little bit, but for the sake of time, like what are your thoughts around Etsy ads? And I get this question a lot, like, do you use Etsy ads, and like, how do you do it and things like that? Like, what are your thoughts around it?
Yeah. Etsy ads work. I don't always, do it for all my shops, depending on your retail price and everything. Because before, you know, I'm sure you're familiar, way back before you can do like maximum bids and stuff like that. And now it's just like on and off, right? There's less things you can do from it. But I still use it, and I recommend anyone trying it out. But in terms of doing it right away when you first have a shop, I personally don't go through that approach because like your shop might not even be optimized. Like your things, you don't have the right images, nothing's good, and like you're pretty much just bringing people into a shop that's not going to convert unless you have the budget for it and you want to test just to gain more data to really test this out. Then yes. So there's for me and it's never as simple like yes or no, like ads or not. I got to see someone shop and like, cool, you should do this. You should set a certain budget. But yeah, in general, I'm a fan of Etsy ads for sure.
Yeah, same. That's how I view it too. I'm like, the way I always look at Etsy ads is just, it's another way to get data quickly, right? Because when you launch a shop, when you launch a brand new listing, like very likely you're gonna get a small amount of traffic to it right away, and therefore you don't really know if things are working or not yet until you get clicks, until you get like conversions on it and all this stuff. But like, what if I can just learn instead of like 1 week or 2 week period of time, if I could just learn it in 3 days, I just turn on ads to it and then I'll be like, oh, this thing's not converting well. Okay, let's like redo everything or do something, change something.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts around that?
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. Yeah, that makes sense. Unless but then people might be in a different situation where they can't really afford that. Then I'd be like, okay, it's okay. If you have time, then if you have time more than money, then it's fine. Just let it roll.
Yep.
But I agree, in your situation, I would 100% just push out the ads and see what comes back.
Yeah, I agree. You're right. Different types of people can handle different things as far as budget goes. And I totally can understand that. And if that's the case, then you really probably should look at kind of feel like they should have some other sort of like free traffic strategy, right? If it's not going to be SEO is one thing, but you really need to if you don't have the budget for Etsy ads, then you should probably consider doing like another channel, right? I don't know, like in addition to SEO, maybe like TikTok or something like that, depending on the niche.
100%. I think TikTok and Etsy, they go hand in hand, just like it was with Pinterest, which is still great, but TikTok's kind of a new way of showing behind the scenes, especially for Etsy sellers.
Totally. Maybe we can talk about some a little bit more advanced stuff. And feel free to share what you want to share here, and hold back what you prefer not to. But let's talk numbers. Maybe what you're seeing on your shops, like conversion rates, anything like that. What are you seeing that's the normal in Etsy? I'm seeing personally conversion rates, 2%, 1.9 to 2.3% conversion rate is the average, depending on the industry and the niche. What are you seeing in your world?
Yeah, so for one category, the digital wall art niche, it's around 1.8%.
Cool.
But then for my planter shop, these products, they're around 6%, just because of the amount of competition out there, right? And what kind of quality is out there. And for my other print on demand, it's slightly different. It's around 3 or 5%.
Wow.
So I guess I'm saying it's just all different depending on the category. It's hard to have a specific number for everything.
No, that helps. I agree. I could see that. And now I'm curious about your plant stuff. Is the price points higher or lower or they seem like they would be higher? It seems like for that niche, and your conversion rate's high, which is interesting.
Yeah, it is. Compared to the competitors, it's pretty competitive actually. But we offer a different product where ours is eco-friendly, sustainable products.
Cool.
Kind of stuff. But I believe the conversion is higher just because a lot of them, we talked about earlier, photography, right? It was a huge thing that people weren't really doing as well. And we were able to really create more professional, storytelling through that, which is why it's working for us, I think, right now.
I love that, man. I think I'm always trying to preach this, and I think I need to do a better job of this, is product photography or your pictures literally is correlated to your conversion rate, right? Those are the biggest probably correlated things. It's so important. Think of us as buyers online. Think of you, right? Buying something on Amazon or Etsy. It's you're going to you're going to buy the one that has the best pictures most of the time and the best video, right? To make you feel the most comfortable with that purchase.
Yeah, 100%. And I keep telling people, look at your competitors. Who are you trying to compete with? What's their thumbnail? What colors are they using? Are they putting text in them? What type of angles? Doing close shots? Really dissect everything. And you don't have to do it exactly like it, but it's really important. Like understand what's working, and from there you can kind of play to your own strength that way. So
what do you think is reasonable for, like, I get this question a lot from sellers, is like, what's a reasonable goal from a revenue standpoint or profit standpoint or whatever, to set for themselves when they start on Etsy? And then maybe like, what's like the top limit? Is there a limit? Is there a ceiling to like how much revenue you can do on Etsy? Like, what are your thoughts and experience around this?
the ceiling part.
Hey guys, because this was such a long conversation with Brandon, we wanted to break it up into 2 different videos. So you just watched part 1. Check out part 2. Link is in the description below. Okay, so go ahead and watch the rest of that, where we dive in much more with Etsy strategies, Etsy tips on growing your shop, ranking, Etsy ads, profit margins, good stuff, right? So make sure you do that. Second, if you're not using EverBee, go sign up for free in the description below. You guys need to be using data to make decisions in your business. Okay, so find the best products to sell on Etsy with EverBee. Okay. And finally, comment down below. Was any of this helpful for you? What was the biggest takeaway that you got from, our first part of the conversation with Brandon? Let me know in the comments below. Honestly, it just helps our engagement, helps push the channel more. And honestly, it helps us kind of gauge, whether we're making valuable content, because we do all this for free. So again, watch part 2 in the next video.